In today's video we're going to be doing a bit of carb tuning on the P. So I've got a bit of an issue with this bogging down at low RPM, so just going to try a couple of things today and see if we can improve on that. The Evans Power Ford Pinto that's in there originally was dynoed on HT Racing's engine dyno and made 198. And then it went to JMR Racing. His dyno reads a bit differently, but it was significant, about 13 horsepower up, and definitely you can feel it in the car. But the thing like bogs down and stumbles at around 3,000 RPM. Jason had recommended trying smaller chokes. It's got 42mm chokes in there at the minute, and also some different emulsion tubes. So obviously it needs to go on the rolling road to all be done properly, but I've got an AIM wideband lambda sensor in the car, so I can see what the fueling's doing on the dash, so I can fit this stuff and just try it up the road and see what it's doing, and should be able to see whether that's the right direction. So we'll start by chucking the smaller chokes in it, see if that helps. The thing with carbs is everyone thinks that they're super simple because it's old technology, and you know, modern fuel injection is complicated, and the reality is the complete opposite. With these carbs you've got all these different circuits that flow through them that all require different jetting, and there's different parts that you can change. You haven't just got your main jet and your air corrector and your idle jet. You've also got the emulsion tube, the size of choke. You've got auxiliary venturis that you can change the size of. You've got a pump jet. You've got jets in the bottom of the float bowl that meter how much fuel flows through to the idle circuits. You've got progression holes, so different carbs have different amount of progression holes. There's so many things, and when you start changing one, it affects the other. So it's just this balance of always trying to, you know, find the sweet spot. Whereas fuel injection, you've got an injector which you can control how long it's on or off and the size of the injector, and that's it. And obviously that has to be controlled by software, and a carb, you know, is more of a mechanical thing. But yeah, when you come to really fine tuning carbs, it's just not, it really isn't simple at all. I'm no expert in it whatsoever. It's extremely time consuming and just harder than it looks. There ain't that many people that still even want to play around with them. So to get the chokes out, got to take all the trumpets off, and then you've got these little locating screws in the bottom, which are all lock tabbed in place. They all have to come out, and then the auxiliary venturis and the chokes just slide out the end. I think the appeal, a lot of the time, the appeal of carbs is just the fact that they are, you don't need to be a computer nerd to be able to make adjustments to your fueling, and obviously they look cool. If you want that classic look, then you can't really go wrong. You can get carbs with throttle bodies. I think Gen V make them, so they look identical to a set of DCOE carbs, but they got injectors in them. And yeah, so now I got those out. You've just got these little locating pins in the bottom to stop them spinning. When I first tried to take the Mini out, one of those fell out, and so the venturi, the auxiliary venturi, was rotating. So that's the auxiliary venturi, and they would normally have a size stamped on them, but these don't. These are like Chinese copies of Weber's. And then that's the choke. 42mm. We're going to try 40mm. So cheers Stiggy for the bits we need. That's the 40mm chokes. And these are the emulsion tubes. So your main jet sits in the bottom and an air corrector in the top. And you've got different size holes for the amount of air being drawn into it. A different size hole for the fuel, obviously. Quite a difference. 2mm. These are quite rough on the inside, whereas these Burton ones are very smooth machine finish. Not sure if that'll make any sort of difference. Right, what I'm going to do now is just set my lambda reading really big right in the middle of the screen so that I can easily keep an eye on things. I would say significantly better bottom end. The low end throttle response is a lot better, and the fueling at low throttle is, you know, sort of spot on where you would want it to be with those chokes in. Top end's completely ruined, and it's basically gone like off the scale rich from putting those chokes in. Obviously you got a restriction in air, so it's going to richen up the mixture. I was surprised at how much it did richen the mixture by. I didn't think it would be like, you know, so rich it's unreadable on the gauge. I'm now reading in lambda rather than AFR. I've noticed that generally when people are tuning they seem to use lambda rather than an AFR reading, so it was 0.65, which is the lowest that it goes. So whether that would be expected and normal, I don't know. I didn't think it would make that much of a difference because it's only one step in choke size, but obviously now that would need completely rejetting to suit those chokes. My inclination is that because it's made such a significant difference to the fueling, it's sort of suggesting that the engine, you know, does need that much air and is benefiting from it. So by rejetting that on the smaller chokes, we're going to lose significant power at the top to maybe gain that drivability at the bottom. So it's just weighing up, you know, whether that's what I want to do or not. Getting the car ready for a track day. So on track, it's not going to be in that rev range where I'll be trying to pull from a low RPM. So ultimately, you know, I am at some point going to end up putting throttle bodies on it, and then I should be able to have the best of all of it. The problem with carbs is, you know, there's always a compromise in some area. You're never going to get that drivability and the top end, particularly not on like a race engine like this. So one of the other issues that I've been having is with the RPM signal. I haven't been able to get a good RPM reading, and because this car's running an AIM PDM, which basically uses CAN bus for all its transmitting of like information. So the ECU would normally output a CAN signal to the PDM and the dash, and that's how you would read your RPM. Well, I don't have an ECU in the car anymore, so we've just got a coil, and then we're taking the RPM signal off the negative side of the coil. So I've used an AIM RPM CAN converter, which should convert that signal to a CAN signal, which the dash will read. It is reading it, it's just that the signal's like very spiky, apparently because of the high power coil, something to do with those illumination high power coils. They don't, just not working very well with what I've got. Tried a few workarounds, and yeah, it just wasn't working. So AIM Sportline have sent me this, which is a ARP03 RPM ECU coil adapter. Doesn't look like much, don't know what's exactly going on in there. And this should hopefully smooth out the spiky RPM signal. So it says RPM ECU coil adapter is a filter that allows to sample RPM from the coil, avoiding possible signal instabilities or wrong sampling due to electrical interferences that lead to voltage peaks. So hopefully this does the trick. Just got to take the little RPM converter back out and then basically wire this in line with it. It's got power and ground, and then instead of the coil going to the RPM CAN converter, it goes into this and then out of this into the CAN converter. So let's give that a go. Right, that's the RPM CAN converter, and that's the ARP3 wired in line. This is my power plug, which also feeds power to the wideband lambda, which is up there. And I just want to verify it all works, and then I can sort of tidy all of this up and fix it all in place properly. But this will all be hidden up there, out of sight. That plugs into that, and then this is the wire that now goes out to the negative side of the coil. So we'll poke that through, connect it up, and see what we got. Right, moment of truth. Right, so that is an absolute result. We've now got a nice smooth RPM reading. I can now set up all my shift lights and stuff like that, so I can set at what RPM I want it to come up green amber and red, and then it'll actually flash at the end. Once you get above this, the whole lot will start flashing. So that'll be yeah, that'll be that done then. Shout out to AIM Sportline for supplying all my AIM bits and bobs that I've needed for doing this swap and converting everything over. There's I've got loads of videos on the channel of installing different AIM equipment. There's a whole playlist on there, and I've got a PDM32 install coming up on a really interesting little Mini. So yeah, that should be fun. I've been trying to get this thing all ready for the Brands Hatch Burton Power track day, which is next week now, I think. So Steve Evans, who built the engine, Evans Power, he's going to be there in his Toyota Starlet, and there should be quite a few old Fords there, I would imagine. Fair few Pintos blasting around. So yeah, should be good. Looking forward to it. That's going to be it for this one. Cheers for watching. See you on the next one.